Thank you for joining us today for this special video. So, I've lived in the city and attended school here, yet I've never learned about the treaty that enabled Toronto's establishment and growth. I'd like to take this opportunity to share this information with all of you. Today is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in Canada. September 30th, 2021 marked the first time that this statutory holiday was observed. It's also known as Orange Shirt Day, which commemorates the children who lost their lives while attending the residential school system. It also acknowledges the families, survivors, and communities that were impacted by this shameful act in Canadian history. So let's dive into it. Treaty 13, also known as Toronto Purchase, was an agreement signed between the British Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation in 1805. This treaty is historically significant as it involved the purchase of the land that would eventually become part of the city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of the background on the Mississaugas. The Mississaugas were part of a larger Anishinaabe nation and Algonquin-speaking Indigenous peoples. They inhabited the region now recognized as Southern Ontario, with a particular focus on the Credit River Valley area, which was rich in natural resources and provided for their livelihoods. Their way of life was deeply connected to the land, which they relied upon for sustenance, culture, and spirituality. They practiced hunting, fishing, and agriculture, and had a strong oral tradition that conveyed their history and knowledge. European contact in the region began in the late 17th century with French explorers and traders such as Samuel de Champlain, who ventured into the Great Lakes area, including parts of Southern Ontario. The late 18th century marked the onset of significant European settlement in the region. British colonial interests, particularly after the American Revolutionary War, led to the establishment of British-controlled territories in what is now Canada. The influx of European settlers brought about profound changes for the Indigenous communities. They introduced new technologies, diseases, and different land use systems which had far-reaching consequences. The arrival of European settlers led to a series of conflicts and land disputes between Indigenous peoples, including the Mississaugas, and the newcomers. Disputes arose over the issues such as land ownership, resource access, and cultural differences in land use. The British Crown, which claimed authority over the land, sought to negotiate treaties with Indigenous nations to secure the land for European settlements, often without a full understanding of Indigenous governance systems and land tenure practices. These conflicts and disputes set the stage for the treaty negotiations, including Treaty 13, the Toronto Purchase, which was signed in 1805, transferring land in the Credit River Valley and surrounding areas to the British Crown. The Treaty 13 negotiations were initiated by the British Crown, represented by officials like Deputy Superintendent General Alexander Atkins and Indigenous leaders from the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations. The Mississaugas were led by Chief Quentin Staghorn and Wabanasi, who negotiated on behalf of their people. The Treaty 13 signed on August 1, 1805 involved the sale of approximately 250,000 acres of land in exchange for various goods and provisions. These goods include items like cloth, clothing, ammunition, utensils, and provisions like flour, pork, and beef. The treaty also allowed the Mississaugas to retain certain lands and hunting and fishing rights. Treaty 13 has been the subject of much debate and controversy over the years. Some members of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations argue that the terms of the treaty were not fully understood, leading to an unfair exchange. There have been ongoing land claims and legal disputes related to the interpretation and implementation of the Treaty 13. The lands in the Treaty 13 covered a significant portion of what is now the city of Toronto. This treaty played a crucial role in the development of the city. Toronto's rapid growth and urbanization have led to significant changes in the land use and development, impacting the Indigenous peoples who originally inhabited the region. The treaty's impact on Indigenous land rights. and its interpretation continue to be significant issues in Canada's ongoing reconciliation efforts with Indigenous communities. Well friends, that's it for today's video. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed today's content, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content just like this. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.
Before I start, I want to thank all those honorable people this morning who conducted the sunrise ceremony and said prayers to us. I really appreciate that. It's a very good start of a good day. I'll be talking up here. We have the first slide. Yeah, I'm from the Uppbeat Dakota Nation. We're part of the Ocheti Shakoi, which is consists of the Lakota, and the dialects. So there's 3 dialects in our nation, and we're Uppbeat one. We're part of that Oyate or nation or confederacy, whatever you want to call it. We have the next slide.
Have you seen Joey?
There are smaller groups. That's the big group, the 7 major big groups. And then Otoa, which is a smaller group. Oshpaye, and then Kioshpa is a smaller group. Wichoti is a smaller group.
He also is the military, he's in the Air Force, he's been a chief in his own community, he's been a vice chief of the Federation of the Afghan Nation.
We're not dangerous?
Brought back the Buffalo in his community, and he'll tell you the story about the Buffalo returning home. Today he is retired, he's living a good life. And what he does in his community now is that he teaches